This month, how did New Zealand win the 35th America's Cup? And what makes their latest star helmsman tick? We take a close look at the new America's Cup holders. Plus new technology that takes everyone on board. We report from the Para World Sailing Championships in Germany and see how the new Round the Isle of Wight record was set. But first, breaking a transatlantic record the hard way. 2,500 miles on a 6-metre open racing cat. There are many different ways to cross the Atlantic, and there are plenty of records set doing it. But one crew took the challenge to the extreme. 56-year-old Vittorio Malingri has around 400,000 sea miles under his belt and several circumnavigations. His 26-year-old son Nico has crossed the Atlantic 11 times. But both knew that their latest task would be a big one. Racing 2,500 nautical miles from Dakar to Guadeloupe aboard an open-decked F-20 racing catamaran. 6 metres long, with no cabin, the pair would need to live on deck. For most, simply making it to the other side would be a major achievement. But the Malingris were out to break a record.
We will need to do an average of 10 knots throughout the time, so we'll have to do at least 250 miles a day. That's our challenge.
It will be a challenge of concentration. We mustn't ever give in, and we mustn't capsize.
It won't be easy at all. It'll be a big challenge. We're on a really small boat.
The duo set off at an average speed of 13 knots. For the next 2 weeks, life would be wet and exposed.
Nano has been at the helm for 7 or 8 hours and he's completely fried. He's losing his mind.
With no space to cook or heat water, their provisions included dried meat, crackers, nuts, cereal, powdered milk and biscuits, and 2 litres of water per day each. Sleeping accommodation was beyond basic. No sleeping bags, just a bunk on the side of the boat. Their route took them south to take advantage of lighter winds of 15 to 20 knots. But on day 6, drama.
We've capsized. We went bowed down just for a second, just as I went to lie down to have a little sleep. And now everything is soaking wet.
I was thrown against the mast. Luckily, I didn't hurt myself, but it was very frightening.
We've just missed 2 monstrous grey whales, and we had just been saying how dangerous it would be to capsize. And there we go. Within 2 seconds, over we went.
Recovering their belongings, including batteries and electronic navigational equipment, meant swimming around the capsized boat.
We lost a lot of speed because the electronics are filled up with water. We've lost the pillow we sleep on too.
Light weather then slowed their progress, before random squalls put them at risk once again. Then, as they approached the finish, another capsize.
Siamo centinaia di miglia dall'arrivo, oramai veramente stremati.
We're about 100 miles from the finish and we're completely exhausted. Everything hurts. The salt has taken control, but now we're just pushing ahead through sheer strength of will. And because we've just got to do it.
Exhausted but undeterred, the Malingris pressed on.
Here we are, folks, approaching Guadeloupe. Me and the crazy old man, 2 nutters crossing the Atlantic on a minuscule catamaran.
And on April the 20th, 11 days after leaving Dakar, they crossed the finish line at Pointe-à-Pitre to set a new record for an open cat. But one that had taken more than 10 hours off the previous record. Last year, it was gold in Rio. This year, the America's Cup. And now, Blair Tuke has signed with Volvo Ocean Race Team Mapfre in a bid to win a 3rd major sailing title. Tuke will be a trimmer, helmsman with the Spanish team. The race starts in October. Racing went down to the wire in the ORC World Championships in Trieste, Italy. Vincenzo Onorato and his Mascalzone Latino team won Class A. In Class B, Renzo Grottesi's Swan 42 B Wild took the title in this division. While in Class C, it was Roberto Monti's modified Melges 32 Aris that took the top spot. The GKA Kitesurf World Tour headed to Tarifa in Spain, where Ayrton Cosolino beat Matthew Lopez to take the freestyle world title. Phil Robertson and his crew won the final of the GKSS Match Cup Sweden for the second year in a row, beating Taylor Canfield's US 1 sailing team. In the Women's Match Racing World Championships, it was Britain's Lucy McGregor's crew that took the title at the finals in Helsinki, Finland. This is McGregor's second Women's Match Racing World Championship title. When it came to the crunch, the defenders of the America's Cup took a pasting. There are few other ways to describe it. The final score, 7-1. After 14 years, the Cup was heading back to Auckland. Outpaced and outmaneuvered, Emirates Team New Zealand ran circles around Oracle Team USA. The Kiwis were faster, sailed deeper downwind and higher upwind.
Peter Burling and the Kiwis calling the shots.
They tacked in a heartbeat and rarely slipped off their foils. So how come they were so much quicker? What was the difference between the two boats? Crews are shy when it comes to talking about their own boat, but less so when asked about their competitors.
If you had to look at the two boats, Oracle and New Zealand do appear to have a faster package. The Oracle foil is a pretty standard L board that all the teams are using. The New Zealand board is a bit different. It has a kink in it, which means that they can take their light wind boards further up the wind range. You're allowed to change the tips on your boards. So New Zealand have a quiver of horizontals. And the racing around the 10-knot wind range is right between the dagger boards that Oracle have, and New Zealand seem to have a much smoother transition with all their boards. And I think that's the main difference between the two dagger boards. The biggest difference between the wings is Oracle have gone for the traditional approach of a wing sheet. Kyle has to trim it with one hand and he has a bunch of buttons to do the full twist adjustment. Whereas New Zealand have gone down the route of having everything hydraulically. So the wing sheet comes on and off with push buttons or a Game Boy controller, looks like what Glenn has in his hands. And he has the ability to play sheet, to play twist, to play camber, all at the touch of his fingers. And with the hydraulic power that's being produced by the bikes, it's like he's got energy on tap.
The biggest difference that's noticeable is obviously the bikes versus the hand pedestals. We've got somewhat of a hybrid system. We have the single bike in the back for Tom. I don't think it'll be the deciding factor. I think the control system, the design of the foil shapes, and ultimately how the crew sails the boat will be the big ones.
From the moment Team New Zealand unveiled their boat, pedal power was the focus. Knowing whether it would work was the big unknown, unless you were a cyclist.
Sport's all about innovation, and for us it's about making the bikes, and ourselves as aerodynamic and the bikes as stiff and as light as possible. To me it seems like a no-brainer that pedal power would be the way forward. More power for a longer time, more choices in the boat.
It's always difficult to talk specifically about the power that a cyclist can put out over a set period, because it's unusual for a cyclist to be putting out a constant wattage. Clearly the more power that you have available, the more opportunity you have to use that power in terms of controlling your wind, moving the different elements of the wing at different rates, or moving them more finely or more regularly. And so therefore it would appear that the more power you've got, the more options you have. And that's before we go into all the aerodynamic benefits of actually having cyclists head down, not having arms waving around up in the air.
But not everyone believed that the Kiwi advantage was about power.
I think the main thing was they were able to adjust their wings slightly better than what we might have been able to, but
I really don't think it was the difference between them beating us and not. I think it comes more down to finer details of foil development and control systems and things like that. So, you know, I know everyone likes to talk about how magical the bicycles are, but, you know, I've not sailed the boat, so I don't know exactly how their boat works, but I don't think that was the main reason.
While the cyclors stood out, there was clearer evidence as to why the Kiwis were so quick.
The third biggest difference between the two boats is how the boats actually fly. Oracle have the same approach as all the other teams in that the helmsman flies the boat while driving the boat. The Kiwis have gone down a very different route. It appears as if they almost have like an autopilot on the boat. And Blair Tuke, the fourth bicycle rider, is focused on this display that we all want to know what is on it. It basically looks like he's trying to keep one line on top of another line, and if he can match the two lines together, the boat has this magic carpet auto ride height control. And so it's really freed Pete up to be a tactician and a driver, something that the rest of the helmsman and Jimmy would not be able to do.
If you talk to anyone in this team, you know, they'll say there's a couple of things that, you know, everyone can see that are very innovative, but there's probably another 50 that people can't see.
But in the end, the result was obvious. More power on tap and a crew that had their hands free meant that the roles could be shared among the crew. Add to this a sophisticated control system that guided the crew on how to adjust the trim, and a stable boat was the result.
The trophy belongs to New Zealand.
Stable flight allowed more refined, higher performance foils. In simple terms, speed. And the complete package made the Kiwis invincible. But the Kiwi performance wasn't just about the boat. While winning involves teamwork, it was also clear that Team New Zealand's helmsman was something special.
Something of a catamaran guru, multiple world champion.
Pete Burling's an incredible talent. You know, he's probably one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting young sailor in the world. I think he can jump in pretty much any boat, make it go fast, and he's got a great technical knowledge. You know, I think the future's certainly bright for Peter Burling.
Myself, I really enjoy that technology side, that kind of development side, and, you know, trying to keep pushing to make the boat go quicker. Now, we're really fortunate, you know, we've got some really great guys on board that really dig deep at times to dig you out when you get it wrong.
26-year-old Peter Burling and his crew, 28-year-old Blair Tuke, are masters of the Olympic 49er. 4-time world champions in consecutive events, they also have silver and gold medals in the last 2 Olympics. Burling has 8 gold medals at world and Olympic level, Tuke has 7. And now they have the America's Cup to add to their list. But Burling can now go one further as the youngest helmsman ever to win the Cup.
Pete is a very quiet kind of guy. He doesn't care what anyone thinks or says about him. I've sailed against him for a very long time, and he's just the type of guy that just doesn't let things faze him.
This is his big moment, his big chance. He's got the weight of a nation behind him, you know. It can be a huge spur, but it can also be a huge responsibility.
There's obviously a lot of pressure, but it's something I really enjoy, and I think that pressure, a lot of it comes from how many fans we do have and, you know, how behind us the country is. No, I see that as a really positive thing.
The America's Cup wrestled from the USA by Burling's man in black.
Coming up next, how riding aboard a cup boat could provide a new view of the action.
You can hear there's just a lot of tension in Tom Slingsby's voice there.
Welcome back. Still to come, the Para World Sailing Championships in Germany, and how a new record was set around the Isle of Wight. But first, join us for a ride aboard 2 of the world's fastest racing machines. High-speed flying cats on the water, and a new view of the racecourse from the air. Advanced technology has transformed the America's Cup. But a new virtual reality promises to take viewers even closer to the action in the future. Using footage taken from a new custom-built camera, America's Cup commentator Stevie Morrison was able to ride aboard each boat in the heat of battle to discover some of the team's secrets.
So race 3, the closest race which we've seen so far. I think we're going to come on board Emirates Team New Zealand off the start line here. There you go. So there's a bit of an insight into the speed. Listen to the guys. I think we've all been told to keep the boat flat before. Ooh. Oh, that's pretty close. A little luff there from the Kiwis. You can just see how much they're just moving the wing, smooth movements, but look how flat the boat looks. And a real sensation of the speed with the Oracle guys to windward there. It's moving the wing a little bit here, but every time we move the wing, you can feel the boat jump a little bit. So the less we can do that, the smoother the boat's going to be. Looking up the sail there, we can see that, oh, where are they going? Yep. Okay, Glenn Aspie, so we're setting up for a jibe here. Glenn straight in on the comms there, calling for a push to boundary. Wing very trim, twist pretty stable. Here we go for a jibe. Boat stays pretty smooth. Okay, big wing ease there. So they've turned pretty hard through that jibe. Obviously concerned about Oracle here. But the boat pretty smoothly down. Guys going hard on the pedals, having just done a manoeuvre. Okay, we're coming out on Oracle. Look pretty good across Oracle. Boat's instantly pretty smooth. Quiet boat, really it's quite quiet. So we get off from Emirates Team New Zealand. Pretty smooth and stable ride there, and let's come back on board Oracle and feel what it was like on board that boat. A lot of noise, little look on the wing. Wing's quite different position even up to windward here. Reasonable amount of twist up the sail, a bit fuller. Oh, here we go. A lot more heel in the boat through the manoeuvre there. I guess trying to make it a bit easier. Oh, big wing drop. Okay, you can kind of feel the tension on the guys there. Again, the wing's moving a lot. The twist up the sails, staying pretty small here. They've clearly got the Kiwis coming across their line. A lot more chatter on board with Tom Slingsby in that specific tactician role, trying to give him the input. But you can just see the twist. Okay, we've had a call for the split at the bottom, but the Kiwis just driving down across, and you can see the boat's just that bit more wobbly, the heel that we're seeing on it. And there's a lot of trim. You can hear there's just a lot of tension in Tom Slingsby's voice there. Shape of the wing changing here, getting ready for change of mode to upwind after the jibe. Just a tricky move, jibe, what we call a jibe drop or at the leeward mark, but they've nothing to drop on these boats. There we go, Tom Slingsby all the way around the mark. What a privilege.
A privilege that could in time become the norm.
That's the one, boys.
A World Championship puts plenty at stake. But for the 2017 Para World Sailing Championships, the event marked an important step in the efforts to reinstate sailing back into the Paralympics. And the support was clear, as more than 80 sailors from 39 nations descended on Kiel in Germany for the 5-day event. Racing in 3 classes, competitors in the 2.4 Norlin and the men's and women's divisions of the Hansa 303 had a wide variety of conditions to contend with. From the outset, there were 4 sailors in the 2.4 Norlin OD that stood out. Germany's Heiko Kroger, France's Damien Seguin, Matthew Budd from Australia, and Bjørnar Erikstad from Norway. Throughout the 10-race series, all 4 took at least 1 win. And come the end of the series, only one of the 4 declared a result worse than 5th. The racing was tight. So tight that gold was delivered to Kroger on a tie-break with Bug. Rio gold medalist Seguin took bronze, while Erikstad came 4th. In the women's Hansa class, Spain's Violeta del Reino dominated, taking gold with ease. Ana Paula Gonçalves from Brazil took silver, while Cherry Pinpin from the Philippines took bronze.
This is the first time I win something so important. I'm just still trying to think I won it.
In the men's Hansa class, Poland's Piotr Syczocki scored 7 firsts and 2 seconds to take gold. Behind him, the battle for bronze was tough. there were just 2 points between Australia's Christopher Simmons, who took silver, and Germany's Jens Krocke, who took bronze. One island, one course, and one simple rule: keep the island on your left. The annual Round the Island race attracted more than 1,300 entries. Some had their eyes on the silverware, some were simply there to take part. But one team was in a hurry: Concise 10. The crew of the 70-foot trimaran, skippered by Ned Collier Wakefield, were out to set a new record. Dawn had yet to break as the crew headed down to the boat for their start at 5:40 a.m.
1 minute! Okay, racing here, let's go.
Their early departure put them ahead of the bulk of the fleet, ensuring a clear path ahead, as the first and fastest of the Grand Prix boats followed behind. By Hurst Narrows, towards the end of the first leg, Concise 10 was smoking. Behind them, waves of starts sent the fleets out to the west. Turning the eastern end of the island after 2 hours of racing, breaking the record would be close. The pedal was down, and a straight line for the final leg worked in their favour. As they crossed the finish line, the record had been broken.
About a minute off the time, I think.
To break Round the Island record is pretty special for us. We've been trying for 3 years now. 2 hours, 22 and 23 seconds. So it's a quick lap, quicker than forecast. What do you reckon, Tony?
I rarely say much to the team, but I told them I want to be back for breakfast. And here we are. Island Sailing Club for breakfast. What more could you ask for?
Next month, we report from one of the world's biggest and oldest regattas, Cows Week. Plus, we take a look at this year's sellout Fastnet race,